Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to Dororo, episodes 19 and 20. We're here for another 2 episodes, and yeah, we're going to see how this goes. We are nearing the end. There's a lot going on, a lot of setup for the final battles and everything. I really don't know where it's going to be headed. Like, I might think I know certain things, but I don't. But this series, it's been made very clear that it could go any direction. But I hope it goes in a good direction. I hope it ends well. Whether it leaves off on a bit of a cliffhanger or not, that's not really important. The important part is that the series just ends off on a high note. And whether or not we get a season 2 or not, I just want to be satisfied with it. So yeah, we are doing 2 episodes this week because next week is another One Piece week on the channel. And because of that, I want to kind of bridge into that with a little more than normal. I want to kind of give you guys something extra to kind of bridge the gap on. So since it's like we won't have Dororo for another week after that, for 2 weeks from now, you're getting 2 Dororo, two episodes today. So yeah, and I might do 2 episodes when we come back, the week we come back, but I'm not sure. We'll have to see. Someone's honking out there. Um, yeah, hopefully these episodes go well. Let's find out and get this going. Yeah. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episodes. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, let's just tackle these one at a time, because I feel like it'll be easier to explain my thoughts if we cover them episode by episode. So the first episode here was kind of something we've seen in various other things before, like the entire opposite kind of thing. It's been shown in other anime, various other shows or games or whatnot, where characters basically have to say the opposite of what they're thinking. Whether it be through lies or telling the truth for the first time, really, like in Liar Liar, or through just literally saying the opposite, like here. It's something that's been done before. Obviously, they made it work within the context of the story by having it be this little gremlin thing that was fucking with them. And this episode, let's just put it this way, this episode felt like it was 2 things. One, it was clearly meant to be the calm before the storm. It was meant to be this episode that was lighter, that was just funnier or goofier, or just like less intense. Leading into the second episode, episode 20, which I'll get to again in a minute here, which was much more intense, much more important, and is going to be clearly leading into the big climactic final episodes of this series. or at least season. So there's that. The second thing that this first episode, episode 19, was, though, was tonally weird. Like, this show has done some comedy and some like goofy stuff and some weird stuff before, but the entire thing with this, the opposite day kind of uh thing that I had going on story wise, the wedding thing with Hyakimaru and this girl, and Dororo and Hyakimaru's fight because of them saying the opposite of what they actually meant. Not to mention the fact that every time they fought and Dororo ran off, it's like it would always like repeat the same thing. Hyakimaru was saying Dororo looks happy, and it kind of came back in the end with like them actually meaning that when they said that each other looked happy. But it felt weird in terms of its tone and presentation comparatively to just the rest of this series. But like, it wasn't bad. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it felt off. Like, it didn't quite fit with everything else the series was doing, especially recently. And again, I kind of get that the point was it was kind of meant to be less intense and less exciting because they're getting into that now with the next episodes. But it's still, I feel like they could have done it without going such a goofy, silly, weird, ridiculous route. I don't think they needed to take it in the direction they did. That's what I'm saying. It wasn't bad. I want to make that clear. I don't think it was bad or anything. It just felt so different than what I'm used to with this series that it kind of threw me for a loop. And there was plenty to love about it. The girl was really cute and funny. Her father was kind of your stereotypical old sword master, but he had some interesting ideas on wanting to create a sword that stops fighting. Um, but outside of that, it's like a lot of it was also very predictable, and I often say that predictability is not inherently bad, and I stand by that. But there is sometimes where it's like, yeah, it's a little too much. Like, you could clearly see where this was going the entire time. The only thing that really surprised me, I think, was the actual fact that it was an opposite situation. Only because I didn't think they would actually go that route. I thought that would be like too obvious and too silly. But everything else, it's like, yeah, of course, this one guy clearly likes the girl, and of course that he'll end up getting together with her in the end. Of course, the old swordmaster is going to help them stop this little demon thing. It's like, of course, Dororo and Hyakimaru, nothing really is going to come of their fight. Uh, it's like, it's so obvious. And again, that's not always a bad thing. And it's not inherently bad. There are plenty of shows, movies, games that have very predictable plot points and storylines and character threads that end up still being very good because of how they're handled. I just don't think it was handled as well here. It was just, it wasn't boring. It just wasn't interesting. And then episode 20, it's like, because episode 20 is so drastically darker, so drastically sadder, so drastically more intense, it really makes episode 19 feel off even more. So let's talk about episode 20. So, episode 20, they're continuing on their journey. They hear about a demon who's been around, who's been killing a lot of people. And so they're going to take it out, business as usual. Um, they come across this wandering samurai, it looks like, kind of, this swordsman named Sabirota, who instantly you see is like, okay, this dude's hiding something. You don't know what, but you don't trust him. something is just off about the way he acts and reacts and the way he talks. And it's very well done. It's very well handled. Unlike in episode 19, it's obvious where this is going, but it's handled well here because it's done in a much more subtle, believable way. So it doesn't feel like it's too silly or too goofy. It fits the tone of the series, and it's much more interesting in its execution. So they end up following him to where this demon is supposed to appear, and the demon does appear, but Saburota reveals that he's working with the demon to feed it people in order to make himself feel better. Which initially sounds really fucked up, especially since he lost his mother to this demon. But you think about it, it's like, okay, so he lost his mother to this demon, and now he's thinking like this, he must have just gone crazy. But then as the episode goes along, you find out it's more than that. They end up knocking Hyakimaru and Dororo off the cliff, and because of it, Dororo gets trapped in a rock, at which point we get one of the best scenes, probably in the series. Hyakimaru's desperation to save Dororo there was so well handled, and it felt like such a natural progression of his character. We've seen how attached he's grown to Dororo. So seeing him that desperate and that afraid and that willing to hurt himself just to save him is fantastic. But the old priest or whatever he is, monk, I guess, comes by and saves Dororo in the nick of time. But Hyakimaru runs off, now pissed and just seeing red. He takes on the demon, and at the same time, let's just put it this way. At the same time, he also has to take on Saburota, but Saburota sees that Hyakimaru is not backing down, that Hyakimaru shows no fear, and that's when we find out the truth, that Saburota, when he and his mother had been confronted by the demon, he showed fear. He tried to run away out of just plain terror, which I get, it's fair enough. But his mother had reached out for help to grab him, and he thought it was the demon, and he used his sword and ended up cutting off her arm. Not even realizing it until he got back to his village and someone pointed it out that he had the arm still clinging to the back of his robe. And that is what fucked him up. That is what the combination of realizing that he got his mother killed, that he sliced off her arm, and that he did all this because he was too scared and that he ran away, it drove him crazy. And it is really, really good. It is really well handled, really well written, and just really depressing and sad. And so he basically gives up and he lets the demon eat him and take him into its body. But Hyakimaru does end up killing the demon and, by extension, Saburota, but he doesn't get anything back. And I'm presuming at this point that just like with the other case, he's not getting anything back because of his mindset at the time of killing the demon, maybe. We see him just start to go crazy, that he's not getting anything back, and he starts to just lose his mind. Dororo is able to snap him out of it, but at this point he's at this point where he's just seeing red, and he wants to finish this, and he understands that he needs to go and confront his father, Daigo, in order to do so. Which, I mean, yes, I agree with that part. He definitely needs to confront Daigo. But, yeah, he's definitely going too far. We can see that. We also get to see a bit of his brother just caring for the sick and destitute, as well as checking out the Hall of Hell, seeing the weird magical demon shit happening. But not much has really gone into there. But this is clearly building up to the big, grand, climactic finale of this season slash series. Because we now have Hyakimaru heading to Daigo. Well, and Dororo, of course. Daigo and Hyakimaru's brother, whose name I can't think of at the moment, are both learning about all this stuff happening. It's just perfectly built up for this to be coming to a head. And let me see here. After this, there are only 4 more episodes. So that makes sense in terms of timing and pacing, too. There are 4 episodes left. My guess would be that in the next episode is going to have our heroes getting back to Daigo, and then the final 3 episodes are going to be the big confrontation slash fight slash huge battle. And there might be a demon or 2 thrown in the mix as well. At least 1, I feel. It's going to be interesting to see where this goes from here. How this all ends. But honestly, I think that Dororo is going to be, what I said he was before, the voice of reason here, the one who keeps Hyakimaru in check. And I think that this story's probably going to end very well for these 2 brothers. Even if they're not brothers by blood, they're brothers by birth. I fucked that up. Even if they're not brothers by blood, they're brothers by declaration. And they consider each other like brothers, and they're going to, well, go far together. It's clearly not. I really don't think it's going to end on a bad note. That's all I'm really saying here. It's not going to end on a bad note. Now, that doesn't mean other characters won't die, but Hyakimaru and Dororo will be left standing in the end. If I had to wager a guess, I would presume that Daigo is going to die, and probably his other son is going to take over. The mother might die, but I'm not sure enough on that. The monk, I'm not sure if he's going to end up dying by the end. The only ones I'm really sure about are Dororo, Hyakimaru, and Hyakimaru's brother. Because I definitely think it's setting up for Hyakimaru's brother to see the error of his father's ways and to take over the domain after his father's death. That definitely seems to be the route they're going for. At least that I can tell. It would make the most sense as well. Other than that, I don't know. We'll just have to see. But we are almost done with this. We are definitely almost done with Dororo. So hopefully this ends out in a very good way to where it just leaves a very good, satisfying taste in my mouth. I don't want a bittersweet ending. I don't want a bitter ending. I want it just happy. I know that might be asking for a lot with a show like this, but that's what I want. But tell me your thoughts on these 2 episodes of Dororo in the comments below, and thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.